we're going to do is assemble a SAF housing onto a shaft. The first thing you want to do is make sure that dimensionally your shaft is straight. There's no burrs on it. Take a emery cloth, clean it up so that assembly is easy. First piece that is assembled is the seal ring on one end. We have 4 different seal rings here. We have the LER ring, which we'll use on one end. We also have a split LER ring, and at the end I'll show you exactly features and benefits on this. We have a taconite industry standard, and we have our brand new Pro Series seal. Okay, with the first LER ring on, the next piece that goes on is your sleeve. After the sleeve is assembled, you'll take your bearing, and we've already gotten the dimensions on it. It's a 22-220, which is a 100 millimeter bore, and on your list of every major bearing manufacturer has a list of reducing the internal clearances on the bearings to make sure that they run at the right temperature and right lubrication. This being a 100 millimeter bore, it needs to be reduced 0.0015. We measured the bearing out at 5 thousandths, 0.005, so you deduct that. You come out with 0.0035 is what we want to get to when you reduce the internal clearance on the bearing. Put the bearing up next to the sleeve. Put your lock washer on. There's a groove for the lock washer. Put your nut on. And this is when you want to find out exactly where the bearing needs to be centered in the housing itself. You take this assembly, place it in the housing, and then you'll take, on a size housing this size, you can use a spanner wrench to reduce their internal clearance, and I'll give you just a couple of, make sure the shaft is locked down. I'll give it just a couple of turns. And then what you want to do is take your feeler gauge and make sure that the bearing is that it's been reduced to that tolerance. After you've got that mounted on the housing, take whatever seal you want, and if it's a large heavy shaft, you'll do this before. If it's a smaller shaft that they have, slide the other seal into place, and then your whole assembly is set. What we used on the other side is our Pro Series seal, which is used in dirty and dusty applications. You have a float side bearing and you have a fixed side bearing. If you have a fixed side bearing, you want to make sure that you put in the stabilizer ring on the one side. Okay. And then slide the housing in, or bolt the housing together. Nuts, bolts on top, and you're complete. What I'd like to do is slip off one of the LER rings or the seal rings to show you the features and benefits of the split LER ring. In some applications, you will have failure of the LER ring itself, and if you can't remove the shaft itself because it's a critical application, downtime is real. You just can't be down for that long to have it split out. What you can do with this LER ring is place one half on top, spin it around, put the other half on top of that, and then with the Allen screws, bolt it together. Now this is tight on the shaft, or it's with the clearance in the shaft. It acts like a standard LER ring. It's a little bit wider, So if there's clearance issues, you have to consider that. But outside of that, it reduces the downtime because you don't have to pull the whole entire assembly apart to get to it and lift the shaft up. And these are available in both aluminum and steel. So that kind of concludes the quick assembly process. The standard Miether housings come with LER, standard LER ring, made in aluminum. The first option we did mention a little bit was the split LER, and that's for ease of installation. The industry standard for supreme sealing has always been the taconite seal. We've made that for many years. We make it for a number of different manufacturers on the OEM side. And then recently we came out with what we call our Pro Series seal, and it's called the Protector Series. And what it is, if you can get a close-up of this, as we push one, there's 3 sets of labyrinth-style rings in here. And what this is you can see I push down one side. We've got 2 that are tight on the shaft, the inside and the outside. The one in the center actually rides in this housing. Slips on just like a piston-type seal in a car. What that is now you have the laminar rings riding against themselves, and they're stainless steel, so that's your wearing. So you no longer tear up the shaft with contaminants with dust. Particular application we use this in was at a rock quarry on a roll crusher, and they were replacing their housings every 1 year to 18 months, 12 to 18 months. We put in the laminar style seal on the housing, and the customer pulled it out of service about a year ago, and it was after 6 years in service. Virtually, he was talking about putting the old one back on too, because the bearing itself failed, but the seal didn't. And so real dusty, dirty applications, this is a premium seal. We're currently doing a dust box test on it with coal dust to see how it reacts in the coal industry. But brand new seal for the industry, patent pending, and it's available. It's about 90% the price of a taconite seal, so it's about 10% cheaper.